Welcome home. New information has come out for Fallout 76 in the last couple of days, and ideally I would have covered this a couple of days ago, but for once in my life I had a bit of a life, but I'm back from having a life, so I figured I would cover the info that I unfortunately missed. First off, Todd Howard has revealed new details regarding Fallout 76's story, which, according to Todd, starts off with Vault 76's overseer vanishing without reason. Apparently, she left before everybody, but has a hidden transmission and instructions for the protagonist. Kind of odd. If this game had NPCs, I would have guessed that we would eventually go looking for the overseer, but that's kind of out of the question now. These instructions get players to complete quests within Fallout 76, which apparently leads to discovering the nuclear codes later on in the endgame, which lines up with the story being interlaced with the multiplayer, because if you don't already know, rare and powerful loot will spawn wherever the nuke strikes, and of course you will be required to slay some difficult beasts in order to gather the loot in the first place. But the story is leading you on the path to get superior gear. Now, that makes the story sound linear and lackluster in my opinion, but it has been described as a lengthy, multi-part story that takes players across West Virginia. So the story will likely be weaved into the game world itself, leading you around the map, getting you to discover new locations, and eventually earning you better gear. Again, all of this is being done with zero NPCs. All of the people in the game world, other than creatures and factions, are real people, and there are no NPCs to chat with in Fallout 76. As for game length, that actually was touched on by project lead Jeff Gardner, saying they've put a scary amount of stuff in Fallout 76. Which to me is really interesting, as I don't know if it's just because I have a terrible imagination when it comes to, I guess, coming up with quest ideas, but it feels like the lack of NPCs would force the amount of content to suffer, or at least the quality. I guess we'll have to wait and see just how quality the scary amount of stuff is in Fallout 76. I'm a little worried for the quest quality. So we know Fallout 76 isn't going to be lacking on the quantity of content, but there is even more to do than the main and side quests. According to Bethesda, there will be plenty of other activities for players to tackle in West Virginia, and I'm sure this will only grow post-launch with time. There's probably going to be an insane amount of content within this game, like a year after launch. So to be a little more specific, one of these other activities available to players will be events, which are like timed multiplayer quests. Some will spawn at random times and in random locations, while others will be exclusive to precise locations on the map and at very specific times. According to project lead Jeff Gardner, these events are encouraged by rewarding players with superior loot. Jeff Gardner even gave an example of one of the events players may come across. You'll get a call about robots in distress, and you basically have to go and escort them to various locations. If they live in the end, you get a reward. That's a random event that will spawn. Some people will join you or not. The players have a lot of character, and they are sort of the levity of the mission. You'll follow along, and they'll make little comments to you. Which to me is honestly quite comforting, as when they said no NPCs, I initially figured that meant no interaction between the quests and the player. It seemed like it was going to be a one-sided thing where it was all about reading notes and listening to holotapes, so it wasn't a back and forth in any way whatsoever. It's good to know that there's at least some robots that can make in-world chatter with the players. It may not be back and forth conversation, but at least there will be a little bit of character mixed into the game. And all of this info came from a Game Informer interview, so if you want to check out the full thing for yourself, it will be linked down in the description below. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed, please smack that like button down below and subscribe to join the good fights if you haven't already. It would be super greatly appreciated, as always. And until next time, this is Apoqsi, signing off.